This is the original.
Hello and welcome to Brands Hatch for round 9 of the SRF Weekend Warriors. The Spec Racer Ford is one of the trickier cars on iRacing, and the same can very much be said for the racetrack that we're getting to race on as well, Brands Hatch. As we get ready for the championship to come to a close, we are sure to expect some action here, as there's just a few rounds left. You're going to get to catch all of the action live here on the Global SimRacing Channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Samuel Ryman, and alongside me in the booth is Ryan Walker. Behind the scenes is our regular commentator, Joe Peak, who is being punished with director duties, but at least he gets to play with camera sets provided by Dougie Beard. The racing gods once said, "How much elevation change and tricky corners do you want on your new racing circuit?" Brands Hatch replied, "Yes. This track has been known to trick up even some of the best in the business. But just to make sure it doesn't trick you up, let's take a closer look at this circuit with our GSRC track guide."
Alright, we're in the GSRC SRF, so let's do a lap around Brands Hatch. Coming up to Paddock Hill Bend, it's very tough to hit this apex with the curved braking and blind rise. But the danger isn't over, because once the car compresses at the bottom of the hill, there's a real risk of it bottoming out and causing you to lose control. Up next is Druids, which is one of the few opportunities to outbrake someone. Unfortunately, it's still got an incredibly short braking zone, despite being a hairpin. From out of there, you'll switch sides to try and line up the car for Graham Hill Bend. The AstroTurf on the exit is fair game, so carry your speed out of there to help your lap times. You'll get a short breather before Surtees, which presents some unique challenges. It's another curved braking zone, but it's also got a late apex with a curb you want to avoid hitting too hard. And on top of all that, the exit is a super steep climb that needs as much of your momentum as possible so that you're not left vulnerable over Pilgrim's Drop. This is the longest straight of the track, and your competitors will be eager to swing past you if you're slow. But just to complicate things, Hawthorne, which is at the end of this backstretch, has very little braking, so there's not much of a chance to outbrake someone. Now we've hit the back half of the course, where it's narrow, fast, and punishing. Westfield is all about just clipping that apex and making sure not to wash out too wide. You'll fly down through Dingledale, and then Sheen is another bend that needs the utmost precision. Too far in either direction, or simply too much speed, and this corner can end your day quickly. You get very little time before you're attacking Sterling's, and this time you do want to get greedy on the inside curbing, so use that banking to your advantage. Finally, you'll get to relax again for a brief moment on the trip to Clearways. There's another little rise that tends to make the car understeer if you don't tuck it right into the racing group. As you come off of there, straighten out the curve in the Brabham Straight to try and gain those last few hundredths. But hopefully, you've kept it all together and have now finished a lap around Brands Hatch.
So there was a quick ride along around the Brands Hatch circuit during sunnier times. Ryan, though, you have some more details for us.
Yeah, Brands Hatch, such an iconic track, one of my favourite tracks in iRacing. It's been host to a range of real-life racing series, such as the British Superbike Championship and the World Superbike Championship, the British Touring Car Championship, and also British GT and the Blancpain series as well. So a whole range of series of racing in real life, and always produce fantastic racing. But tonight it will be host to the SRF Weekend Warriors, and some details about the track. It is 2.3 miles in length, or 7.3 kilometres if you prefer to use that. It has 9 turns, which is quite a shock considering it's how long the track is. And tonight the race length will be, as always, 40 minutes.
Yes, and also, as always, this race wouldn't be possible without the sponsors. And the Weekend Warriors is brought to you by SimStickers. Whether it's button boxes, steering wheels, or keyboards, they have you covered. And now, if you use the promo code GSRC10 when purchasing, you get 10% off of all orders for the whole season. You can find out more at simstickers.co.uk. So that's a little bit about our sponsor SimStickers here. Let's give you a little bit of information about our championship as well. There's 2 different championships these drivers are competing on. One is called the S1 stand-ins. These are drivers challenging for overall points. And there you see David Gaspers has a healthy lead over Daniel Sadro with just a few rounds left to go in the season. He would need a couple of bad results. And to be honest, I'm not actually sure if Gaspers is here today, so that might close things up a little bit. Back there, you also see Antonio Reitz at 3rd in the points ahead of Jerry McAreevy and Emil Orza. But we also have our S2 championship going on, Brian.
So yeah, in the S2 championship, I should say, it's still Larry McLeod in the lead with a 15-point gap. But the 4-man at the moment in the S2 standings is Dominic Bureau. He's been getting consistent results, finishing in the top 3 in the last couple of races, I believe. So he's still in contention for that championship. But yeah, falling back further in the standings is Jay Williams Smith in 4th, 57 points behind. And Yuri Cox is out of contention as it stands with 76 points further back.
Now, just to follow up on that David Gaspers story, no, I do not see him listed. And before anyone says, hey, Samuel, you should easily be able to go through the drivers list and work out who's here. Well, it's a lot trickier than you think. We have a field of about 50 cars here. I'm not even sure if 50 cars can fit on this circuit. Let's give you an idea of exactly what we're up against. Ryan, race detail.
So, just race details for today for anyone that's new to watch the series or is just tuning in to watch this evening. This is round 9 of 12, and the setups for this series, as always, are open setups with the fuel tank limited to 35%. And the race length, as I just mentioned, is 40 minutes, and the points are rationed from 100 points to 25. But yeah, I believe anyone that finishes this race, or even if you do finish this race right at the very back, you will still be eligible for points. And the incidents as for this series is minus 3 points for each 10 off tracks. And lastly, in the series, you get a fast repair. So if you damage a car big time and you can make it back to the pits, you will be given a new car.
Yep, so qualifying is currently going on right now. They've got just a little under 10 minutes left of that. And you see those drivers running over the curb there. Ryan, normally we hang on to talk about track conditions until a little closer before the broadcast starts. But I think we need to address the elephant in the room here. It's foggy. Visibility is difficult today. And look at that wind.
Yeah, I was about to say as well that the wind is a bit, it's picking up a little bit, and as you mentioned, Samuel, it is very foggy, which is something I'm used to since I come from Scotland. But yeah, it could make the racing interesting today, and also affect the track temperature and maybe the grip as well.
Our director is asking us, how can it be that windy and that foggy at the same time? My response to that is, I guess he's never been to England. It's always foggy. It doesn't matter how much wind it tries to blow it out of the way. You're going to have fog there. The whole thing's a tiny little island. But you know what? We have some great things on that country, including this racetrack. Everyone loves Brands Hatch's historic moments here. Nigel Mansell, I believe, got his first ever Formula One victory here, even though it was called the European Grand Prix that day, not the British Grand Prix. And also, one of my favourite moments of racing history, Ryan, I don't know if you've seen it, you mentioned touring cars race here. Jason Plato's drift through turn 1 when he got kind of tapped into a spin and was able to keep the car going straight.
I do remember that, actually. I was watching that on YouTube this afternoon, now you mention it. That was one of the best saves that I've watched, and if my memory is correct, he got tagged by, what was it, Van Muller, I think.
Unfortunately, we don't have that much BTCC coverage over here in the States, so I'll take your word for it. So our podium last race was Gaspers, McAreevy and Maselli. Jerry McAreevy currently your second fastest in qualifying here. Jason Starney has a provisional pole by half a second, and that is quite astounding, Ryan, considering this is a small circuit. You would think at times would be quite close, but Jason has them all covered by half a second.
Yeah, Brands Hatch is one of those tracks. Strangely, it seems to be that the draft doesn't seem to really matter around here. The only parts of the track it seems to matter a little bit is that back straight after the first sector, and also this home straight as well. But I think tonight it's going to be about just staying out of trouble and just making it to the finish. And yeah, I think we could be in for an interesting race, Samuel.
And you want to have, how do we put this? In the middle of a field, you talked about how the points were distributed earlier, Ryan. One position is not going to be worth a whole lot in the middle of a points. First, second, and third always get an assigned amount of points each race. But then everything is evenly distributed from fourth down to last place, which is about 50th or so today. So each position from fourth on back is only going to be worth an extra 1 or 2 points. But you definitely don't want to fall to the back. Boy, if you get involved in an incident up front here, even if you have a good qualifying, you're probably going to drop 20 or 30 positions, and that's going to cost you.
Especially in the S2 standing as well, or the Spec 2 class as well. The people in the Spec 2 championship will need to be careful as well. They need to think of the long game and think about their own championship. Yeah, you want to try and do as well overall in the race, but on the other hand, you want to try and get the best result possible, but also keep out of trouble as well. So those guys have got to think of the long game.
And the way to tell who's an S1 driver and who's an S2 driver is how many what digit do they have on their card? Do they have a 2-digit number? If so, or 1-digit number? If so, they're an S1 driver. Do they have a 3-digit number? If so, they are an S2 driver. And we don't have the numbers. Oh, sorry, below 200, my bad. So if you have number 199, you're an S1 driver. If you have a number 200, you're an S2 driver. Now, we don't have all the car numbers listed on your screen there, but I can tell you that the number 268 car of Erin Bothkrantz is currently sitting... Sorry, of Erwin Rothkrantz is there sitting in third position. I don't know where I was going the first time. So one of our S2 drivers sitting pretty on the grid right now on row number 2. We'll wait to see if he can hold it there in the final moments of qualifying.
Yeah, that's a good qualifying effort from Erwin at the moment. The P3 overall, like our director just mentioned, it's a good effort from him, and also on pole position in the Spec 2 class. But Jerry McAreevy up there in second place as well. It's good to see Jerry slowly getting back to form, because he's had some rotten luck in the previous races over the last few weeks. So he could be one to keep an eye out on this evening. He can be quick on his day, and he can spring a surprise. And also with David Gaspers not being here, that gives him a chance to possibly try and take the win.
I wonder if the weather's going to clear up a little bit, to be honest. I've noticed the timing for the Weekend Warriors is set up at 2 times regular speed. So if we were to do a 24-hour race, you'd see the full night and day cycle take place in 12 hours. Wonder if some will break through as the race goes on. I don't exactly know how they have this session set up, but right now the session definitely set up in favor of Jason Stanley in the number 62 machine. Still has that half-second gap over any of his competitors. You have about another 40 cars out here, and no one can get close to him.
Yeah, that must have been a really good lap from Jason to get that gap in qualifying to Jerry McAreevy. It might have been might have been with the help of the draft as well, possibly. So if that's a lap without draft, then that's very good.
Yeah, well, he's ran a 1:39.0. He also ran a 1:39.0 in practice. He wasn't the only driver to do it in practice, though. Maurizio Naselli also ran a 1:39.0 in practice, but currently he's down in fourth at a 1:39.7, and he is on track in the number 44 car. So we'll see if Naselli can get up and challenge Stani, or Makarivi can, or Erwin can. Sorry, Erwin, I'm just going to call you by your first name. But here we go. Checkered flag is about to fly on the session. The drivers will be able to finish up the laps, Ariel.
Indeed, as excuse me, as everyone's on the final laps at the moment in the final couple of minutes, and just looking throughout the field to see if there's any surprises. And yeah, quite for me anyway, a surprise at the moment is Ian Haycock's up there in 8th position as well. So good to see Ian continuing his good form from last week, or the previous race before that. But just looking further in the field as well, it looks like the next Spec 2 class car is doing well at the moment is Larry McLeod in P14.
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest surprises of the race has already happened, Ryan, and that's that David Gaspers isn't here. And so that means all of a sudden Daniel Sadro, you've got to have your eyes on him to see what he can do in the championship. But the thing is he's qualified all the way back in 7th right now. And I would not be comfortable starting 7th. In fact, I would not be comfortable starting anywhere between 3rd to 40th because it's such a tricky opening corner here.
Absolutely. You've got to be to try and keep out of trouble in the Weekend Warriors League because of how close the field is, and especially with a big turnout today around this layout of Brands Hatch, it's going to be very, very tough to try and make a move. So the further you qualify up the grid, the better chance you have of maybe getting a good result. But if Daniel Sadro wants to try and take the win, he's got to try and make moves in the early stages of the race to try and close that gap on Gaspers in the championship.
GSRC foreign language specialist Stefan Schlacker is trying to tell me I pronounce the last name Rotkrantz. I hope that's a bit closer for our driver who's qualified 3rd. I should try and get his name right. Don't really have to give Stefan much of a shout out. He's qualified all the way back in 44th. Stefan, there's only one way to go, and that's forwards. We'll see how Schlacker is able to do there from the back of the field. I think everyone has pretty much done their time, and let's go ahead and call the grid, Ryan, because there are a lot of cars here. And it's going to be led by Jason Stani on pole position ahead of Jerry McAreevy. Erwin Rotkrantz will be starting from 3rd place ahead of Mauricio Naselli in 4th. Stephen Elson starts 5th place ahead of Miroslav Juracek, starting in 6th position. Row number 7 has the driver who could be our points lead at the end of the day, Daniel Sadro, starting in 7th ahead of Ian Haycox, and Fred Desai will be starting from 9th ahead of Ed Doherty.
And starting in 11th place is series organiser Stevie Ray. Alongside him in 12th is Donald Fitterer. Behind them is Emil Orza in 13th. Alongside him in 14th is Larry McLeod. Hugh Haycock starting in 15th. Alongside him is Michael Shaw in 16th. 17th is Jean Pereira in 17th. 18th is Tim Van Dormelen. Samuel Dick in 19th. And rounding at the top 20 Samuel is Zachary Lovey.
Yeah, not even halfway through the field. Here we go. Adam Bradshaw starts 21st ahead of PJ Gordy in 22nd. Kurt Nunez will be starting from 23rd ahead of Bob Kern. Jory Cox will be starting 25th ahead of Paul Jackson. And then on row 13 we have Paulo Brame and Richard Franco. Sorry, that's row 14 rather. Ryan Short will be starting from 29th place ahead of Greg Stefani.
Starting in 31st is Tim Hendrickson. Good to see Tim out on track for his first race of the season, I believe. Alongside him in 32nd is Jim McGill. Behind him is Nick Carty in 33rd. 34th is Kenneth Bately. Jeff Jacobson starts in 35th. Tom Gradwell starts in 36th. 37th, I should say, is Dominic Bureau, who is 3rd in the standings and hopefully trying to capitalise and gain more points in the championship. 38th is Jeff Cantor. 39th is Dan Babbitt, hopefully I said that right, and rounding out the top 40 is Gary Walbot.
41st place goes to Paul Hickey ahead of Gludio Forkalin, starting Giulio Forkalin all the way back in 42nd. Behind them is Niels Sendkowski, and Stefan Schlacker will be starting from 44th. Mark Selva was the last driver to turn the lap time in 45th, but then we still have more cars. We have Baz Slob, Sergio Dorelli, Pascal Morenzi, Antonio Reese, Wayne Palmer, and Myro Hazakski all the way back in the field. And let's be honest, Ryan, we might not get around to calling all of these drivers today, because that's a 51 car field for a 40-minute race here at Brands Hatch. On this tiny circuit, really, as far as road courses go, things are going to get crowded. There is going to be a lot of action about to happen in the next 40 minutes.
Yeah, especially with this layout of Brands Hatch as well, with 51 cars, like you mentioned, Samuel. It's going to be absolutely hectic in the early stages of the racing. I think if I was any of these drivers, I would maybe play the cautious approach in the early stages and just settle down. But from my experience racing in the Weekend Warriors League and from what we've seen at Sebring last week, it was absolutely chaotic. So we could be in for more of the same this evening.
I'm going to say chances are 51 cars might not necessarily be running at the end of the first lap, at the very least not running intact. They do have that free repair, remember, and so we might have some cars opt to take down the pits. But I'm going to be trying to pay close attention here to what's going on up front, because definitely that's the place you want to be. And the way qualifying seemed to indicate it is Jason Stowney is going to be up front, and it's going to be hard to get in front of him. But what happens when Jason catches lap traffic? Lap traffic will definitely play a huge factor, I should imagine, when we get towards the closing stages of this race.
As we've seen in races in the past, in the Weekend Warriors, especially at Charlotte a couple of weeks ago, David Gassers was leading and he got taken out by a lap car, not of his own doing, but just rotten luck struck, and they had the race win taken away from him as they're coming up to the final corner and they're just about to get underway.
About to get underway for 40 minutes of racing with Jason Stowney on pole position in the number 62 car. The pace car is off. We're ready to go rolling here. Brands Hatch, a massive field of 51 cars, takes the green flag, and Jason leads them away, quickly taking the racing line to the outside with Jerry McAreevy behind him. Then they're all going to try and go 2 by 2 behind one of the trickiest corners in the racing world.
As it looks like everyone's managed to get through turn 1 without any issues at the moment as they come up to turn 2, and yeah, they're all checking up into the hairpin, Samuel, but everyone's made it so far without any issues, so far so good.
It's not unusual for this series to have big fields. All these drivers know how to be courteous to each other in the opening stages, and we're definitely seeing some of that now by the physics of racing 51 cars logistically around here. I'm not sure how it will work out, but up front things are going well, especially if your name is Jason Stowney, because he still leads the field down the hill off into the foresty section of a racetrack, away from the fans. A lot of high-speed right-handers around this portion of the circuit. Jerry McAreevy keeping them honest up front.
In the Spec 2 class at the moment, it's still being led by Erwin Rothtrans, and second place in the S2 class is Larry McLeod, and rounding out the top 3 in that class is is right down the field as Yuri Cox.
Yeah, and that could all get shaken up a little bit, especially there in the midfield. A lot of drivers have changed position from where they started. You can follow your favourite driver along with our timing and scoring on the left side of the screen as they come around to complete the first lap in this 40-minute race. Jason leading Jerry, leading Mauricio, who's up to third after starting 4th on the grid.
These guys have got to be careful in turn 1 as well, by the way, because there's a wee bump on the exit of turn 1, and if the car hits the ground, you will guaranteed to be spin around and possibly hit the wall. But it looks like everyone's managing to make it through turn 1 without any issues at the moment.
Yeah, this has been a much cleaner start than what I think any of us anticipated. However, there's still a lot of great battles going on. Look at this, from about 10th on back, we got Daniel Sadro ahead of Ian Haycock, Stevie Ray. They're all single file now, but you saw when we came to them, they definitely weren't single file then.
Yeah, they're getting a bit racy at the moment, or already, I should say.
Oh, we got one car off. That is Miroslav Juracek. He was in 6th place. He's not there anymore.
Yeah, it looks like he's ran wide on the grass, and unfortunately he tried to rejoin, but he couldn't because he had a whole bunch of cars passing him at the time. But he's managed to tuck back into line as he come into the fast right-hander.
Yeah, and remember, we're estimating every position is probably going to be worth about 1 or 2 points. So the thing is, with them all so tightly packed early on in the race, it probably cost him a good 20, 30 points right there, that one mistake.
Possibly. I think it's still a long race, though, so I think if I was Miroslav, I wouldn't do anything too silly at the moment. Just settle down, settle into a rhythm, just see how the race pans out. And also, you've got to remember as well, these races have pit stops, so you could gain some track position through maybe doing an early pit stop, or maybe trying to go as long as possible. As Stephen Elson gets fastest lap of the race with a 1:39.515.
Yeah, it looks like we only had 47 cars actually take the green. Pascal Montemerenzi, Baslob, Myro Herezek, and Wayne Palmer, I don't believe, started the race. We got some great battles still going on here inside the top 10, just outside the top 10. Drivers trying to get track position early on. We got one car off at turn 1 in the background there. And we actually... Oh, quite a few cars off here. We're going to get a replay of this. So Gaudi is the first driver involved, and Stefan Schlacker comes in later. That might have been a single car spin. You've been talking about how tricky that corner is, Ryan. But I actually want to stop watching this and come back to live action, because 3rd and 4th is getting quite intense at the front of the field between Maurizio Naselli and Stephen Elson. There was actually a little bit of contact between them a few moments ago. They're still pointing the same direction as we get replay. I think that's Stefan Schlacker going around there, able to keep it off a wall. So things are spaced out a little bit now, Stefan, but Stephen was definitely making his intentions known. He wants that podium position.
Yeah, it's just I'm quite surprised it's starting to spread out already. Normally, it's after the pit stops, it all starts to quieten down and spread out. But we've got this battle for the lead between Steny and Macarivi, and then we've got this battle for 3rd place between Naselli, Elson, and Naselli and Elson.
Yeah, Paul Hickey. Go ahead.
I was just going to say as well, that was a good point that our director brings up as well, that the traffic around here is going to be absolutely mayhem, and it's going to be difficult to get by. So hopefully the back markers are cooperate and give the front runners a bit of respect and let them go when they get lapped.
Yeah, Paul Hickey has retired from this race, so he is our first DNF, so that takes us down to 46 cars, all 46 cars still on the lead lap for now. That should change at some point. And then look at this train from 6th on back. 6th place is Fred Kasai. And then, boy, what does this train go back to? 10th place, Donald Fitera. And then 11th is actually up for grabs right now. Hugh Haycock's on the inside as they go to the bottom of a hill, with Miroslav on his outside trying to rebound from what happened to him about a lap or 2 ago. But it looks like Miroslav's gonna... Oh, boy, there's contact between them. There was a little bit of netcode. And Miroslav goes for a slide, can't save it, and lightly grazes a wall.
As we're just about to go to a replay as well to see what happened, and yeah, that was unfortunate for Miroslav. He might have just been trying to push too much. As we look at the replay of Hugh Haycock's and Miroslav, and it looks like what you mentioned, Samuel. It might have just been a little bit of contact or netcode.
Yeah, there definitely was netcode involved, but even if it hadn't been netcode, they were at 2 lines that were coming to an intersection.
As I back up at the front as well, it's still Steny leading from Macarivi, and looking further back in the pack as well, it's Naselli still under pressure from Stephen Elson.
Yeah, and Bradshaw just got passed for 13th by Tim Hendrickson. Hendrickson is really trying to work his way up through the field. It's getting a little bit close now at the bottom of a hill. But Tim Hendrickson started 31st, and he's just taken 13th place. Oh, contact! No, he hasn't. He's going for, can he do a Plato-style drift? They both go around. There was a contact there with another car involved, and really the driver who came off of that worst is Adam Bradshaw.
Yeah, I was about to say that Tim Hendrickson was having a good run through the field, considering he started 31st, but unfortunately he just made contact with what looks like, Adam Bradshaw. Just, I think it looked like maybe Tim tried to turn into the corner, but I'm not sure. It's just, I think anyway, it's just a racing incident as Tim went to turn in and Adam was up the inside a little bit, and just unfortunately the two of them got tagged together.
Now, Tim Hendrickson has been able to rejoin in the middle of the field without much damage, but he's still being quite aggressive, trying to make a move on Paulo Breme now. This is just inside the top 20, so we'll see if he can work his way back up front. Battles continuing for 11th place between Larry McLeod and Hugh Haycox. They're actually making a little bit of contact on the exit. And we've also got this battle on screen much further up the order. They all stay in position for now. The Larry McLeod, Hugh Haycox battle was getting tight.
I was just about to say that battle for P11 is still going on. We've still got this 1, 2, 3, 4, about 5 or 6 car battle going on for P11 at the moment, and this is just proof once again, Samuel, that Weekend Warriors is.
Yeah, he gave him a pretty big nudge there. Go ahead.
I was just about to say, this is why I love the Weekend Warriors League and why I love racing in it. It's just a great community, and no matter where you are in the park, there's always great close racing going on.
Yeah, these drivers especially have some going on, but as you mentioned, we probably have some great battles going on in the depths of the ocean back around 30th, 40th place that just haven't been discovered by our underwater explorers yet. Us being those underwater explorers. I think I'm giving myself a massive promotion for motor racing commentator there, but still, it gives you the idea of how much intense racing there is going on out here. Not up front though. Jason Starney has put 1.5 seconds over Jerry McAreevy.
Yep, Jason's starting to build up that gap a little bit, and I think at the moment Jerry's not got an answer for him. It just seems to be at Jason's quicker on pace. But looking back throughout the field, looking at the battle for what looks like P13 with Tim Van Dormelen and Emil Orza and Michael Shaw and a few other guys in the mix.
Yeah, I'm also curious to see how Tim Hendrickson gets back through the middle of that pack, because he definitely seemed to be making some daring moves, and he's capturing Kurt Nunez, Michael Shaw, Emil Orza. Oh, we have trouble here. Oh, and Emil Orza has just had a bit of an off. He's lost a few positions right in the middle of that pack we were watching. In fact, Michael Shaw's wide. Things heating up again here.
Yeah, it's all kicking off, and that's allowed Hugh Haycox to pull away a little bit up in 10th position, and with these guys scrapping amongst themselves as Tim Van Dormelen tries to go for a move up the inside of Ed Doherty.
Now, of course, the problem is when you make a move coming out on the back straight here, if you lose any speed, it's going to hurt your momentum all the way down this long straight. Fred Desires had some kind of an office lap. He's lost 3 positions, or he's still running out there. Yeah, he was involved in Doherty. Might have a replay of that, but there's so much action going on right here. Now, here we go. We get a replay, find out exactly what happened. Here we go, we got a better view pulled up for you now. Yep, that looks like it was contact there.
Guys, I'm just looking at 6th position at the moment. I'm looking at Daniel Sadra at the moment. He's not made progress through the field like I thought he would. He's in 6th position at the moment. If I was Daniel Sadra and I realised that David Gass was not around today, I would be doing everything to try and take advantage of that and try and gain as many positions as possible. But at the moment, Daniel's not really. He's not really doing anything at the moment to try and capitalise on that, I should say.
Yeah, he started 7th, he's gone to 6th, and the car you saw in front of him there was a lap car. Here we go. So this is Ed Doughty, Larry McLeod we have getting very tight on the exit as they run down the back straight trying to side draft off of each other. Don't know how well that works for the Spec Racer Fords. Tim Van Dorkmelen is also looking at the back there in 13th place, and then Tim Hendrickson will be wanting to get by all of these guys too, and off way deep into the grass goes Doughty, but able to maintain control, and he has room to come back on.
McLeod needs to watch what he's doing though. He's in the lead of the Spec 2 championship at the moment, and he has to think about the championship. Just finish the race and take the points, or that's what I would do anyway if I was in his position. Don't get into a race with someone that's not in the same class as you. I can understand that you want to do well overall, but on the other hand, you've got to take what you can get.
Stephen Nelson is the first of our leaders into the pits, and I'm not sure this is a wise decision because he had kind of clean racetrack. I think he was getting held up by the driver in third a bit, but now is he going to be thrown out into a bunch of lap traffic? We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of a bunch of lap traffic, look at this.
Ooh, I thought they were going to go 3 wide into turn 1 there, but yeah, luckily they all acted sensibly and managed to make it through as Van Dormelen's trying to... it's Hendrickson, sorry. Hendrickson's trying to make a move up the inside of Dorothy.
Yeah, if you want an interesting driver to watch this race, it's Tim Hendrickson. Oh boy, things almost got a little bit too much interest in there, but he might be able to pull this off around the outside. This is where things went downhill for him earlier, if I recall correctly. Oh, once again, trying to cut in, but there's just not enough room to the apex. He's not clear of Doughty.
Tim manages to pull the move off, and he manages to get it done, but Doughty might be able to get a slipstream on him heading down to this right-hander, but Tim goes defensive before the corner and manages to hold him off. Yeah, that was a bit of a wide line by Tim onto the grass there. Maybe he's not he seems to forget that they're not racing in the World Rallycross.
So I'm trying to pick up where Stephen Nelson has came back out on track. He's in the 22nd position right now. He's behind the battle of Brian Short and Niels Sankowski, so I think he'll want to try and get by these guys pretty quickly.
Absolutely. Regarding Stephen Nelson pitting when he did, if I was him, I would have tried to go as long as possible and take less fuel at the pit stop and save time. As the Spec 2 Championship leader Larry McLeod is into the pits.
Yeah, you can still take less fuel if you pit early, but I just think a risk of coming out in traffic is too much. But yeah, as you mentioned, Larry McLeod is in. We have some cars sharing pit stalls here. That's why you kind of see them parked on top of each other. I don't think Brands Hatch was ever built to accommodate 51 race cars at the same time.
As we look at 8th position man at the moment, Donald Fitterer, he's having a good race at the moment. As Donald, it's been a bit quiet for him. He's kept out of trouble, just done his own thing, and as one of the lap cars moves out the way. But in front of Donald is Fred Desai. So if any of these guys in front of Donald have any issues, he could be there to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, one driver who's not having a bad time, but not having as good of a time as he might like is Terry McAreevy, running in 2nd place. Last lap, he was a second slower than Jason Starney, so that respectable gap of 1.5 seconds between two leaders has now extended to over 3 seconds. Actually, look at that on our dynamic timing on the left side of your screen. It's now over 4 seconds. Jason is continuing to pull away from him.
As on the screen right now is a lap comparison between Stenny and McAreevy, and like you said, Daniel, McAreevy is not slow, but he just doesn't seem to be able to keep up the pace. And I'm just watching 3rd place man Maurizio Naselli starting to... something's happened.
Almost. Bob Kern got hit from Niels Sankowski coming out of a final turn and then went into the pits. Now, I don't know if a contact happened because Bob was coming to the pits anyway, or if that was his cop-out. If he's like, well, I'm being hit and I'm pointing in this direction anyway, so I might as well go into the pits.
The replay is on screen right now, and it looks like yeah, Bob goes a little bit wide, and I don't know if he decided to go into the pits at the last second, but managed to make it without any issue.
Yeah, there was contact between them, but these cars are so unstable. Whenever I see contact, I'm always prepared for the worst, as I am for 10th right now. Tim Hendrickson and Ed Naughty are banning doors going down the main straight.
Yeah, this is getting a bit feisty. This is nearly a repeat of what happened at Sebring last week during the race, where everyone was just losing their mind and going at it, like it was a boxing match.
Oh, you can see that coming.
Contact.
Oh, Doughty pointing sideways in worst part of the track right there. I know that was something personal, but that was aggressive.
Yeah, that was a bit. I'm not going to put my opinion and say who's to blame for that. I think it was just two guys going at it hard, and unfortunately, it ended up resulting in contact between the both of them.
Yeah, well, there'd already been contact. About 3 or 4 times. They just hadn't wrecked yet, and that time they finally did.
Oh, it was, yeah, I thought, I just seen a car going by Doherty when he tried to rejoin, and I thought he was going to get hit in the side, but yeah, that was a lucky escape for Ed, and but unfortunately he's fallen back further in the pack down to P16.
It's the pit road, a little bit busy, but most of our leaders are still out there.
Yeah, I think up at the front as well, you'll probably see the usual from the leaders. They'll try and go as long as possible and just try and stretch the fuel, like we've seen in previous races. But at the moment, I'm just looking throughout the field, looking at Tim Hendrickson up into 10th position at the moment, and just in front of him is a fellow Dutchman, I believe, Tim van Dormeland.
Yeah, and we just saw that on camera. He just got that spot from him, and there was contact again. There's no incident limit in this series, so Tim Hendrickson is safe on that end, but I can only imagine he can keep racing like this for so long before it all goes south. It was a mistake from Hendrickson that gave Tim van Dormeland this position, so that number 20 might be a little bit on the slower side. Even though I just don't know how Tim Hendrickson qualified all the way back in 31st when he's definitely got the top 10 pace. He just he's not making the cleanest passes to get up there.
Yeah, I was good to say something about that. He's aggressive, but I don't think Tim will appreciate me saying it on the broadcast. So I'll keep quiet. But yeah, Tim has been a bit aggressive, trying to get by people, or the way he's trying to get by people.
Yeah, well, let's talk about 5th place. That just changed hands. Ian Haycock's just made a move on Daniel Sadro. And as you mentioned earlier, Ryan, this might not be good news for Sadro, considering this is a perfect day for him to try and gain points.
We've got a replay on screen right now as Daniel Sadro went up the inside into the hairpin of Ian Haycock's, and Haycock's made a move on him, sorry. I'm getting a bit confused. It's just it's so exciting, this race. But yeah, Sadro, he's got to try and at least finish in the top 3 to try to close that gap in gas scores. I mean, you can finish in 5th or 6th place all you want, but it's not going to close the gap massively in the championship. It's you've got to finish on the podium at least.
Yeah, and now all of a sudden, I think the leaders are starting to catch the back of a field. Now, I know obviously we already have some cars a lap down or multiple laps down, but they are cars that have retired from the race or ran into trouble, such as Miro Hizvetsky, Paul Hickey, Miroslav Juracek, Stevie Ray, Adam Bradshaw, Mark Selva, and Dan Barbic, basically any driver from 42nd on back. Now the drivers who are running at the back due to their pace are starting to become an issue, and that will definitely make the second half of the race interesting for the leaders, especially when you throw pit stops into all of that too.
Absolutely. I think we're on a lap 14 at the moment, and I think I'm guessing round about maybe 4 or 5 laps time we should be seeing some of the leaders starting to make their pit stops. So yeah, who dives into who dives into the pits from the front pack is a question that's not been answered. But at the moment, we're watching the battle of Paul Jackson, and in front of him, it looks like Jean-Pierre.
Yeah, so we got that battle on screen. If there's any good news for our race leader, Jason Stanley, as he catches the lap traffic, it's that he has a 5.5 second lead now, so he can afford to take his time. You know, he doesn't really have to make any daring moves to get by lap cars. And also, I don't think he's exactly competing for the championship, so if he wants to make daring moves, he can. He's got nothing to lose except this race win. So we got 9th through 11th is still a good battle. We got this battle on screen as well. And definitely some battles left to be resolved as we head into the second half of this event.
As Jerry McAreevy is into the pits from second place, first of our leaders to dive into the pit stops, I think.
Yeah, it should be a quick splash and go, I should imagine. It's sitting there for a few moments. There we go. And where's he going to come out? Unfortunately for him, I'm concerned he might be coming out in some of these intense battles. Yeah, sure enough, right in front of him is Hendrickson, Dormalan and Orza. 3 drivers that we've seen have their fair action throughout today's race, but they're going to have to pit soon too. We got 3 wide scenario behind them coming up the hill between Niels Sinkowski, Stephen Nelson and Kurt Nunez. They've worked it all out now, but got a little bit hairy exiting the first corner.
Just watching this battle right now with Sinkowski and what looks like Kurt Nunez, and also Egg Doherty just ahead of these guys as well. So yeah, it's still really close in the mid pack, and hopefully these guys are not as aggressive with each other like Tim Hendrickson's been with people so far.
Well, it's working for Tim Hendrickson. He is running in the top 10 right now. Our race leader stays out for another lap. Obviously, some of these drivers are probably getting to the end of their fuel window here as we're deep into the race. Naselli comes in from second place, so he'll be hoping for a quicker stop than what we saw for McAreevy. Maybe he'll be able to leapfrog him for second.
Possibly, as Naselli's in the pits right now, and McAreevy is just coming down to the final corner, so it'll be close. Maybe interesting to see if Naselli can jump McAreevy, but McAreevy's heading onto the home straight as we speak.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to do it. Oh, actually, it was a lot closer. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong car. So he is a lot closer here. Naselli is right on the gearbox of McAreevy. Quicker pit stop.
Yeah, just looking at the pit stop comparison times as well, it looks like McAreevy was 12.7 seconds and Naselli was 11.2 seconds, so a much quicker stop from Naselli.
Oh, we got one car spinning out of turn 1, and fortunately doesn't hit anything. It's Dominique Bureau. He's worked his way up from 37th up into the top 20. I don't know if he's made his stop yet, but fortunately he just went for a little sliding excursion.
Yeah, just I was just about to say, I thought Bureau had issues as well, but he's managed to keep going, and seems to be, I'm not sure where he is in the Spec 2 class, but he's round about the top 3 anyway, so if he gets to the finish, he'll still be able to pick up points.
Wayne coming into the pits, he's our new second place driver after the other drivers who have been running in second have came in for a stop. Jason Stanley continues to go. That's always annoying, isn't it? The fastest driver in the league always at a given race always seems to get the best fuel consumption as well. And it is, I think, the way they drive a car. You know, they're just smoother, and when you're smooth, not only are you fast, you don't burn as much fuel.
Indeed, as Erwin Rothtrans is just leaving the pits right now, he should come back out in about P7. So good stop from Erwin, managed to come back out and not lose too many positions and still inside the top 10.
Oh, Emil Orza, who hasn't pit yet, almost shut the door on Drery Mikarivi there. And Drery and Maurizio are very close to each other on track. This could end up being the battle for who gets second at the checkered flag. In fact, it probably will be.
Yeah, I mean, Selly's right behind Macarivi as well, and I think, Emil Orza's still got to pit, but he doesn't have to move out for the way for these guys. He's entitled to fight for his position as he's entitled to do. And I think the Selly might just play the waiting game until the closing stage of the race and then try and make a move.
Yeah, well, Mikarivi is definitely getting held up a little bit here, but Naselli hasn't been able to find a way by. Of course, catching is one thing, passing is another. Well, catching is very easy to do on this circuit. Passing is very difficult to do on this circuit. I wouldn't say catching is necessarily easy. But, so here he goes. He's caught him. Can he find a way by? Well, he's going to have to get a better run on him than that. Of course, Drery Mikarivi would love to see that 96 coming to the pits this time by, as our leaders have, top three cars have, so that's a good sign that Emil will as well. No, he won't. Emil Orza is going to be our, well, maybe not our new race leader, because Jason Stanley's already rolling.
Yep, Stanley should, Stanley should come out of the pits. Actually, right, he's actually behind Macarivi and the Selly, so...
Oh, wow!
That's interesting.
That was not expected at all. He was meant to have left the pits a long time ago. So Jason Stanley has had a great race up to this point, a longer stop for some other reason, and all of a sudden, Jason Stanley is Emil Orza's biggest fan, because as Emil holds Drery and Maurizio up, that's going to allow him to catch, and we could have a three-way battle for the win in just a couple of moments here.
Absolutely, and I think, like you say, Samuel, Orza could be Stanley's biggest fan at the moment. All he has to do is Orza goes defensive and actually lets Macarivi and Naselli go by. Interesting.
Yeah, I think he realised that he wasn't in their race. This is a battle for the potential win. Of course, Jason's not going to like that. But you know what? Jason built up a 5-second lead before the pit stops. So there's no reason he shouldn't be able to run these two back down again. But definitely Jason is going to have to take a look at his fuel strategy going forward, because without... he's obviously taken too much fuel or something, and without that, this race would have easily been his. A big mistake from Drery that's going to open the door for Maurizio here. Maurizio started this lap in 4th position, but now he is leading.
Yeah, that was a big mistake from Jerry, but it allowed Naselli through into the lead. But I think if you're Jerry Macarivi, it's not always a bad thing at the moment. It's just stay behind and just wait until the closing stage of the race to try and make a move.
Wouldn't it be something if all three of these do get involved in the battle and all get together? We would have a Spec 2 racer and ended up winning this overall, because Erwin is still holding his ground in 4th. So here we go then. Naselli has taken the lead the hard way from Macarivi, but this is inverse of how they qualified. Jason was faster in qualifying than Drery, and Drery was faster in qualifying than Maurizio. So I don't think any of them should lose contact with each other. I think we are going to have a nice little three-way scrap to wrap up the final laps of this race.
Indeed, looks like Naselli is starting to... I was about to say, I think Naselli might be pulling away a little bit, and he's in the lead at the moment after that mistake from Jerry. And then I'm trying to think, I'm trying to see what happened to Jerry. He's actually behind him. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong car there.
Yeah, Jerry's still right on him. They are about to catch a lap car of Tom Gradwell. Now, our good friend Bill Zahn would say, did Tom Gradwell from Backmarker School and pull out the way here? I'm sorry, that might have been a little bit too corny even for Bill's liking. I'll talk to him later. But here we go. As they come across the line, Tom Gradwell in that 299 car hopefully will let all three of them go by, because they're kind of evenly spaced out right now, about a second between each one of our three leaders, and Jason just able to squeeze on by him by turn 1. What? Oh,
the fuck?
Hendrickson has had a big crash.
Yeah, that's a big one. I wonder what happened there. If you can try and get a replay to see what happened, and yeah, I might have been contacted into turn one possibly, and might have been tipped over into a roll. But yeah, look at the replay right now to see what happened, and yeah, looks like a big one, sir.
Yeah, the reason we're struggling to pull it up on replay is we think he's been sitting like that for a while. So we're going to pick it up on replay quite a bit before it happened here. But we'll find out exactly what happened. He had a great race, you know, from 30th up to about 10th place. He'd been very aggressive, been involved in a lot of contact, but this might have just been a single car incident that ended his day. We're about to find out. Here we go. It happens in the next corner.
Yep, coming across the start-finish line, and it looks like yeah, he's all on his own, so it looks like he might have just lost it by
Software issue.
himself.
Yeah. Meanwhile, we need to get back to live action because Jason Stanley has worked his way by Jerry McAreevy for second place, and now he's going to start trying to run down Maurizio for this race win. So they are crossing the start-finish line with about, and here's the pass for second, with about 6 minutes left to go on the clock. It takes a bit over 1.5 minutes to get around here. That's telling me we have 4 laps to go. Watch this move one more time. That wasn't necessarily a bad exit from Jerry, but it was bad enough to give Jason the position, and Jason has already run down Maurizio. He might be able to make quick work of this.
And Jerry McAreevy might be a good thing he's sitting there, because he could just sit and watch these guys battle away and maybe try and catch back up to them. And if the Stenny and the Selly get caught over each other, he could pick up the pieces and take the win. But at the moment, both of them are going side by side as they have to lap a back marker going downhill.
You know, it's Kenneth Batley who nicely got out of the way. So Maurizio's on the inside here, but Jason trying to carry the momentum, and he clears him around the outside. Jason's got the position with, by my calculations, 3.5 laps left to go. These guys have left the Jerry McAreevy in the distance, behind them in third. Our top 2 run nose to tail, but Jason intends to do the exact same with Maurizio. He has been the fastest driver all day. He's had some kind of issue in the pits that has put him back down in third place, but his raw pace has sent him flying back up to the front of the field. Is he going to be able to hold on and get that win? Well, you could easily say yes, he will, but the thing is, not only is this a tricky track, not only could Maurizio grab a hold of his slipstream again, but there's lap traffic to deal with. Here we go, 3 laps left.
As I've got a battle for P10 going on at the moment between Larry McLeod, Emma Orza, and Niels Senkowski at the moment, as it looks like McLeod's trying to defend from Orza at the moment as they come into the final corner. And
oh dear.
Oh, 3 wide.
That was contact by Niels Senkowski. Now they can both get going again. I don't know if Niels stalled it. He might have not had the clutch pushed in there, because he definitely didn't get rolling as fast.
Yeah, that was excuse me. Yeah, it's like they just got caught over each other, or maybe one of them got caught out by the closest speed and just unfortunately ended up in contact. But they've managed to keep going, and they've got about 2.5 laps or 3.5 laps left remaining of this race.
McAreevy has run Naselli back down for the battle for second. Meanwhile, I wanted to give a shout out to Sergio Dorelli. He didn't turn a lap in qualifying, so I don't know his true qualifying pace, but he's gone from 46th to 12th today, which is very difficult to do with all the traffic that's been out here. Talking of traffic, that's what Jerry McAreevy's got in front of him, and he wants to get by it and get up into that second place.
Yep, McAreevy's managed to hunt back down Naselli for second place, and as they come across the line, we've got about just under 2 laps remaining, and if I was Jerry, I would try and make a move right now if he gets a run on Naselli.
Yeah, less than 3 minutes left to go. We're at 2 laps left to go here, according to the clock. They are all catching the lap car of Dominique Barreau. He is in 35th. He had an issue earlier on, and I guess he's somewhat recovered because he's still out there and he's up on where he started. He started 37th. Right now, he's holding up our race leader, but Jason's going so fast, I don't think that's going to upset him too much, as Naselli is able to put a bit of distance between himself and Mika Reeve. We just had the back pass for 4th, by the way. Daniel Sadro got by Erwin for 4th place. So Daniel Sadro trying to get those points in that championship battle.
Yep, the Sadler up into P4, and I don't think he's going to have enough time to catch his battle for second and third place on the podium. As it looks like Rothkranz has got the run in Sadro.
Yeah, and then nothing going to come of it, though. He's going to back down, and I think this is a good race for both of them, even though they're in 4th and 5th. Erwin's going to win the Spec 2 race. Daniel Sadro's going to win a bunch of points that will help him in his championship pursuit. Not as much as he would have liked. I'm sure he would have been happy with the podium, but after starting 7th, 4th isn't too bad. We got a slow lap car going down straight now. They've all got to go by. Richard Franco has had some kind of incident and came back on the track, but it looks like he's going to try and limp it around for the final lap as Jason Stanley comes across the line and gets that white flag.
Yep, start of the final lap, and Macarivi's closed right up to the back of the Naselli behind him, and Jerry Macarivi seems to get close under braking, but on the straights, Naselli seems to be able to pull away and just build a little gap a little bit.
A great battle for second after what's been a great race, and we don't know which one of them is going to end up in second place here. A lot cleaner than I anticipated. Give all these drivers credit. There's still 32 cars on the lead lap. I did not anticipate that when the green flag flew. And it looks like Jason Starney will lead them all across the finish line. But who will get second? Jerry McAreevy. This is really his best opportunity to mount a challenge as he gets a run down the hill.
Macarivi's got the run. Naselli defends the inside line. Will Macarivi try and go round the outside? Possibly, if he can hold it on the outside, it'll be a beautiful move. But no, I don't think he's going to be able to hold it as he's trying. But Naselli defends the line perfectly.
He defended that line perfectly. That doesn't mean McAreevy might try and make something happen down the inside here. Only a couple of turns left. That might have actually hurt him more, because now he's just going to have to really throw a lunge at it into the final corner. Well, we know who's going to win this race now. It looks like it's going to be Jason Starney. He's about to work his way through the final turn and take a checkered flag here at Brands Hatch. A battle for second behind him. Nothing's changing. Jason is going to take the victory here at Brands Hatch. What a victory.
As the second place battle and second and third place battle is coming across the line, and it looks like it's going to be Naselli that holds on in second, with Macarivi in third, and Sadro is going to finish in fourth.
Solid points work there by Daniel Sadro, 4th place after starting back in 7th. Still, Orza's had some kind of wreck at the end here. He was running in 10th, and you can see he's not running there anymore. He might not be able to make it to the line. He definitely doesn't want a DNF. There's still 30-something cars on the lead lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looked at Orza at the moment. It looks like he's made a big mistake and he's wrecked the car. But yeah, we've still got about, as you say, Samuel, 32 cars running and just about to make it to the finish. So yeah, that's a great effort.
Yeah, it's going to drop him back to 18th. A good battle for 19th right behind him to the line. Stefan Schlager has been able to recover, and Dross holds. Oh no, he gets turned by Fred Desai, but I think he's still got it. Yeah, Stefan Schlager got 19th place, pointing sideways.
That was a bit of a that was an awesome finish, but I don't think Stefan wanted to grab the position like that. But as Hugh Haycox comes across the line from just in front of Paul Jackson. Hugh Haycox finishes in P26.
And Sam Dick has ran out of fuel on the final lap. Definitely something you not want to have happen with this many cars still running. Well, the post-race demolition derby has taken place for the fans around turn 4 right now, so we'll let the drivers tear their equipment up and then we'll let them come up here and talk to us and say hi and how their races went and how mad they are with each other. We'll have that all for you on GSRC and the iRacing Esports Network when we come back. Hello and welcome back here to GSRC and the iRacing Esports Network. Thank you, iRacing Esports Network, for putting on the show for us today. Let's give you an idea of how all these drivers finished when the checkered flag flew. Well, for a while it looked like that maybe the win wouldn't go to Jason Stanley, but it did. He was able to pull it back in the final part of the race there ahead of Maurizio Naselli. Jerry McAreevy comes home in third place to round out our podium, and a good point stay for Daniel Sadro. Not a great point stay, but a good one in fourth. What about Erwin Rotkrans? Now that I've finally got his name right, it's a name you might all want to remember because he definitely seems to be a fast driver and he had a great race today. Stephen Nelson comes home in sixth place ahead of Ian Haycox. And then we have, this is also Spec 1 driver, Donald Fatera in the 111 car, ahead of Tim Van Dorenmalan. He definitely saw some action today, finishing there in ninth place. And up from 20th on the grid, Zachary Levay finishes in 10th.
Finishing in 11th, just outside the top 10, was Sergio Dorelli. 12th place was Neil Senkowski, a good drive from him after starting P43. 13th was Antonio Reyes, Bob Kerman 14th, Larry McLeod finished in 15th, PJ Gowdy recovered to finish in 16th, Yuri Cox finished in 17th, Timo Orza finished in 18th, Stefan Slattery, even after being spun at the line, still manages to finish in 19th, and rounding out the top 20 is Fred Desai.
In 21st place, we had Jeff Jacobson. Jim McGill finishes in 22nd, and behind him we have Nick Carey and Greg Stefani in 24th. Paulo Brem will be back in 25th, ahead of Hugh Haycox and Paul Jackson. Jeff Cantor, Gary Robot, and Samuel Dick, who ran out of fuel, finishes 30th, but he still beat Michael Shaw in 31st. That's the last car on the lead lap. Everyone else has still half a field to go through here, but honestly, they probably want to forget this race because they're down there towards the tail end of the field. A lot of them not making it to the finish, so we'll try our best to respect their wishes by not mentioning them and the poor performances they had today. Although some of them had good races going and just didn't end up that well. One driver who came home with a good finish, Erwin. Erwin, I've got to confess, I'm not the best at pronouncing your last name, which is a problem because I might want to get used to pronouncing it because, boy, you showed you are a force to be reckoned with up there up front today.
Hi, guys. I think you're doing good. Erwin Roodkrans, yes, from the Netherlands. Yeah, too bad I gave a little present to Dan in the end, but I had a misshift. But yeah, good result. So...
Yeah, good result. Now you're 5th overall, but you're first, and you pretty much dominated the Spec 2 race there with the number 268 on your car.
Yes.
Do you think about that, or are you here to play with the big boys? Do you want to be winning the races?
Yeah, to be honest, with all due respect for the guys who are in the S2, but I think the goal is to be in front, And yeah, so, but I'm happy with the result anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I've got to admit, I'm a bit new to broadcasting this series. I used to do it a couple years ago. Can you tell us how familiar you are with this car, how familiar you are with this track, and, a bit of your background here? Let our fans know what you're about.
Yeah, I'm kind of new to this series. I was on iRacing a couple of years, but I never had the time to race. So now I have more time, and I like this car and the community, so it's great. And yeah, let's see to progress and hopefully somewhere in the top with David, who wasn't here today. I don't know where he was, but
yeah, well, you definitely had a great showing today, and I'm sure you won't be a Spec 2 driver for very long, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the podium hopefully shortly.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you, guys.
That was our 5th place finisher overall, our winner of Spec 2, Erwin. And Ryan, you have caught up with our race win, I believe.
Yeah, Jason Stenny taking the win in today's race. And Jason, I've never raced you, or never seen you race in this series before. Is this your first time in the series, or you got a bit of background about yourself?
I used to race it way back in the day, and eventually the Pro Series took over last year before they killed it, and my wheel broke about October-ish, so I haven't really been able to do anything, and this was my first road race back since, so about half a year, been pretty much inactive, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Good stuff. Yeah, did you expect to be challenging up at the front, or was it just, excuse me, was it just a case of just see how the race goes and see where you finish, or was the race one always the aim?
Always try and do as best as you can, obviously, but definitely just because of the nature of the car and the track, you got to be really careful out of turn one. And thankfully, with about 3 minutes left in practice, I figured out how to keep the car safe, which was essentially really, and a lower front end and a higher rear end, and it kept me really nice through turn one, where a bunch of guys were having issues, so it helped a lot.
And yeah, it looked like you seemed to have a bit of a slow pit stop in the middle of the race. Was there any reason for that? McAreevy and Naselli seemed to jump you pretty easy, but it looked like, was it just a case of too much fuel?
Funny story. So my teammate, he's the one with the fuel calculator, and he's good with math in general. I'm not. And he said, all right, 25 laps is all you need. And in my head, I'm like, okay, 25 laps, easy, I got it. So I filled the car up for 9 liters, and I sat in pit lane. I'm like, Nils, why don't I have 25 laps? I'm sitting there with 19 laps in the tank, and then it hit me. I'm like, 25 laps total, not 19 more to go or whatever the number was. But yeah, that's the reason. Overfueled it by nearly double.
It's an easy mistake to make, because I've done that before. But yeah, before we let you go, Jason, anyone that you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Global SimRacing, my teammate Nils, of course. He's a extremely nice, helped me a lot during that race. And shout out to SimuCube and Draw Once.
Good stuff. Well, yeah. If we don't see you on track next week, we'll look forward to seeing you on the broadcast on track in future races.
Thank you, guys.
Speaking of on the broadcast, our last interview here for today is a driver who had an interesting race and made our show a couple of times. Even though at the end of the day it was for 19th place finish, Stefan, that's still an awesome finish considering where you started.
Yeah, most definitely. Quite honestly, I expected that the race is going to last exactly 2 laps for me. Like lap 1, crash out in turn 1, get your fast repair, and then do the same again. But yeah, I was able to finally get the car down here in this race, and I put in some really great laps to somehow finish in that position.
Yeah, you almost didn't know. You had that big crash right across the finish line. You still skated across of Fred Desai by 0.5 of a second. You finished up 25 positions from where you started. How did you make most of those positions?
I already knew that if I pit early or a little bit early, that I'm probably going to run a little bit into danger of starting to get lapped. So I just keep your head down and do the laps, even though you're starting to get annoyed about not being able to get around cleanly every single time. You just have to keep your head in the game and just continue on doing what you have to do, and just try and try again till you get those last portions of the track also in, and you're able to just run your race without any interruptions. And I had a few interesting encounters. One was with Niels after he came out of pit lane, and I think he thought that I was in danger of taking his place, and then I pitted in. But yeah, just make the best out of them, keep your head down, and just try to overtake where your strong points are, and don't try anything risky where you know that you might crash if you have to overtake someone.
All right, well, thanks for coming to talk to us, Stefan, and good luck next week at Tsukuba.
Yeah, should be great there. Thank you.
All right, that was our fellow motor racing commentator and motivational speaker, Stefan Schlacker. Well, Ryan, we definitely saw a great race out there on track today, much cleaner than what I anticipated, but still some great aggressive racing throughout the field. Some went to plan, some did not, but at the end of the day, I think we definitely got a deserved winner there with Jason Stoney taking the checkered flag.
Yeah, fantastic races throughout the field, up at the front and the midfield, and at the back of the pack as well. And Jason Stenny taking a well-deserved victory after coming back from his fuel error, I should say, at the pit stop, and managing to retake the lead and hold on for the win. So I think Tsukuba next week should be an interesting combo with the Spec Racer Ford.
Well, we definitely can't make this all happen on our own. We tried once, but they didn't give me enough 5-hour energy. So here are the people who we would like to thank for putting this on, including SimStickers.co.uk as a series sponsor, and also, of course, the iRacing Esports Network for broadcasting this live for your fans. If you haven't subscribed to them yet, do it. It's as simple as clicking the red button. It appears on your YouTube feed. You get to watch some great races on ovals, on road courses, with stock cars, with open wheel cars, and yes, of course, that means you get to see plenty of crashes too, if that's the kind of stuff you're into. Additional thanks goes out to all the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts. You can see those listed on your screen now. Also, thanks to June Lalonde, who provides us with our music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Ryan, Joe and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check us out on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, or Instagram at GSRC_gram. Our next race is the same time next week from Tsukuba, so all the way over in Japan. We also have the upcoming races for our other series listed on your screen, so be sure to check those out, mark them down on your calendar, and don't miss another second of exciting racing action. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.